Unconventional. Hey guys, it's your girl Elizabeth here with another episode of the Unconventional African. Today is the day. Like, I carry one special bobo come this show today. Like, this guy, he owns many things. He does many things. And he's definitely unconventional. When you talk about amazing in the community, he's definitely somebody you should name twice, man.
Wow.
Very, very pivotal, even in my own life. But it's okay, we'll get into it. We'll enter the gist. Wow. Please, my brother, introduce yourself.
I am Preach, the owner of Cast Sound Lab, owner of John's Pizza, the owner of Native 90. Mm-hmm. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm excited.
Owner of.
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I am great.
Let's get the energy up, man. I'm good to go.
Let's telling you, thank you so much for coming on our show. Like, as in,
this is nice.
Like,
this is weird, by the way.
No, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's unconventional.
Oh, I see what you did there.
See?
Okay, I see what you did there.
It's not something that you do every day.
No, not at all.
Tell the people where your family heritage is from.
All right, so my family, both my mother and father, obviously both from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And yeah, they migrated.
Shout out to Haiti in this building.
Yeah, shout out to Haiti. And yeah, they migrated over here. I was born in the Bronx, but raised in South Jamaica, Queens.
What is it, BX?
No.
For the Bronx?
No. We don't. No. I was there for like 5 seconds. Like, literally gave birth, and it was like, yo, we're going elsewhere. This is crazy in here. But yeah, and I was born and raised in South Jamaica, Queens, and have been there ever since. So
wow, shout out to Queens.
Thank you.
Man,
like I built Queens. Like, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you definitely had a hand in making this place really great.
Thank you.
So please name again all the things that you own.
Right.
And I'm going to need you to elaborate because, first of all, as a Haitian African, this is your parents.
And we all migrate from Africa, so let's just be clear.
Like,
we have our...
Because, people would start to say all their different rubbish. But then when a movie comes out, they'll be wearing their dashikis.
Exactly. Black Panther, everybody's African all of a sudden. But last week you was repping Dominican Republic, so cut it out. Like, stop. Like,
no, but really, our parents, especially when they migrate from these different places, they expect us to come here and be like doctors, lawyers, engineers.
Absolutely.
Tell us about your background and your route, and then explain to us how you started owning and acquiring all these things.
Well, it's interesting you say that just because, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily, it's not a Haitian thing, it's not a Nigerian thing, it's not any of that. It's, I guess,
African diaspora, African descent.
Absolutely. Like, they have these high aspirations for us where it's a great thing to have in the beginning, but it also can tend to be a detriment because there's so much pressure put on the kids when it comes to, they expect us to either be doctors or engineers or lawyers and so on and so forth. And I knew I wasn't going to be that early on. So, my mother did her best in terms of, because my dad wasn't around. He was a piece of shit. But my mother did her best.
Shout out to mommy.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Shout out to all those moms that are holding it down.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And she knew from jump, she instilled, like, education was number one. And at the time, I'm like, okay, cool. But I wasn't a good student at all. Like,
school's hard, though.
My attention span, like, it's weird because, it's funny, I have a son now and I kind of see it in him as well, where it's not that we don't like learning, it's not like, but sometimes it's just our attention goes to elsewhere. We want to do what we want to do. And my life has kind of been that way. I went to one of the best high schools in New York at the time. I think it probably still is, which is Archbishop Malloy. And she spent money that she didn't have to put me there, quite frankly.
Mommy,
you already know what it's like. So it was, I went to go to public school. I wanted to go to a different high school, and she was like, no, you're going to go here. It was all boys at the time, and she was like, because I know if you're there with men,
you're concentrating on no girls to distract you.
Right, exactly. That was her thing. And unfortunately, like, the homies I grew up with, they were like, yo, we going to John Adams, or we going to Edison, or we going to Campus Magnet, or Andrew Jackson at the time. So, and I was like, I want to go with my friends. But, she kind of knew from the beginning, like, yo, I want you to be in a straight and narrow. I don't want you to be another statistic. I don't want you to be like your knucklehead friends. Like, I need you to be
Like a typical mom.
My typical mom, African mom. Like, yo,
especially,
I need you to focus on school and a career and make money and be rich and take care of me.
And
when
any
I get older.
friend that was standing in the way, they're not their good friend.
Exactly. They're not going to be for you. So I did that, and I went to college where college wasn't even an option. Like, I see kids now where it's like, yo, you're going to college. And she was like, yo, you're going to go. And now it's like, you could take a year break now.
What break?
I didn't have that. Like, she was like, okay, what college are we going to now? And like I said, my grades weren't that great, but I was able to get into St. Francis College. And I was able to major in film and broadcasting. Because quite frankly, like, I was into music and I like media and things like that. I didn't want to do anything else, to be honest with you. Did that for 5 years. So I'm my 5-year college crew. And,
all right. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. You got to finish it for.
There's nothing wrong with the super seniors, bro.
Absolutely not. I'm a super senior. And then I did music for a little bit. I was kind of into producing and things like that. I was just hustling. And finally, like, I don't know what happened. I wanted to do radio for whatever reason. Just because I would sit around with friends. It was crazy. We would sit around and we would record it. Our conversation. Just talking.
Y'all low-key had podcasts before podcasts was even out.
We didn't even know what we were doing. We were just recording it.
Wow.
So me and my man, we were like, yo, like, we should do this or try to do a radio or whatever. And then we're going to get signed somewhere and then we're going to have our own radio.
Because that's always how it is.
That's
when
how
you
it
with
is,
your friends, you're like, bro, we going to go to BET.
Yeah. You have high aspirations and you dream big, as you should. I tell anybody you're supposed to dream big. And then so I had an apartment and I had an extra room. So what happened was, like, we were cool. We were getting a little thing off, but we couldn't get guests because it was like, I'm not going to your apartment. I don't know who you are, bro. Like,
yeah, it's kind of creepy, though.
Yeah, it's like,
hey, I got this extra room where we can record.
Right, exactly. Like, yo, I'm good. We couldn't get anybody legitimate to come through, but we had great ideas for a show. So I decided, I was like, yo, I should buy a space. And, like, I first asked them about it. I said, yo, y'all want to invest with me? We could put the money together. We get the space, and then we can rent it out to other people. And mind you, this was like 10 years ago. And we wanted to just do radio. It was like, yo, we could rent it out to other people, do live radio. Podcasting wasn't necessarily a big thing.
No, that wasn't,
at all.
What was that, 09?
This was 11. I want to say
11?
2010, 2011.
Hey, shout out to class of 11. That's when I graduated high
school. Wow, I feel dated. Thank you. Yeah, man, I feel old. So yeah, they kind of saw the vision, but they were a little bit apprehensive on joining in. So I just wanted to do it myself. So I said, you know what, bump it. I'll do it myself. I bought the space. Mind you, I in no way had the money. Like,
wow. Hey, but that's a lesson to somebody. Like, if you actually have the mind to do something, you have the passion to do something. It. Even if people not on board with it, you gotta do it.
You gotta believe it.
You got to believe in yourself and do it. Because people will hold you back.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Like, and you know what? No knock to them or whatever. But, like, if I would have waited for them to then give me a check to then put, like, I would have been waiting forever.
But you would still be in 2019 figuring out how you're gonna buy a space.
Absolutely. So one thing I also tell people is, like, all right, if you're gonna plan on investing and doing something that you really believe in, and I emphasize that a lot, like, you got to be your biggest supporter. Because people are going to tell you, like, yo, I don't know about this. Because there have been plenty of people that would, like...
Because their fear, they put it on you.
Exactly. So you have to be able to get your hands dirty. So, like, I couldn't hire contractors to build stuff out. I couldn't hire, a company to help me out. And there was no real, like, there's not a real manual on how to build a radio studio.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing. Like, what I would do is I would look at so many, like, videos on YouTube about, like, people with stations and Breakfast Club and Hot 97, and I would say, oh, they're using that mic. Oh, they have this mixing board. Oh, they use this and they use that. And I would, like, literally, like, zoom in and look at the equipment, and then I would look at the prices, like, oh no, like, I can't afford that. What's the plan B to that?
But the hunger, though.
Absolutely, like, it was crazy. So much so that I bought the lease in, like, 2010. We didn't really, like, open up for clients until 2012.
Wow. So you was just in the background working.
Yeah.
That's like, that's what you're supposed to do, though.
Friday nights, Saturday nights, I was painting. I was putting in carpet. I was trying equipment out. I was trying wiring out. I was trying all that stuff out, like by myself. Like I had a few people help me, like put in a drop ceiling and things like that. But like all in all, it was like me late nights. And mind you, I had a kid on the way. So I was like,
wow. So you're like tough, doing this day in, day out because of the hunger. You knew what you wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes everybody can't see your vision.
Nah, because it was crazy because as time went on, they would come in and they'd be like, oh, shit, like.
You really doing this?
Yeah, like this is studio, bro. Like this, I'm like, yeah, this is what I've been telling you. I've been trying to do. And then I also had to learn the business where there isn't a real business for this. It's like figuring out, okay, I really want to get clients. So how much should I charge them? Mm-hmm. Or how much are other studios charging them? And that was another reason why we opened it, was because we were calling like regular radio stations or just studios throughout the city, and they were charging $200 an hour.
Yeah, are you crazy? The prices was crazy.
It was nuts. So I sat there, I was like, okay, I have this place. It was, I'm not going to say cheap, but it was affordable. And I said, yo, I couldn't charge an affordable amount for people like you or anybody who wants to do a radio show and kind of learn and kind of develop it to something and figure it out. And people like, they started gravitating towards us. And 2 years into that, we started getting more podcast clients because radio was becoming so hard. Like the media business in and of itself is a very, very difficult, very difficult industry. Just because like people don't leave their jobs. This was just a dream that I had that nobody even thought. Like nobody even like I would explain it and they'd be like, I don't get it, bro. Like whatever. It's a waste of time.
Shout out to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Hey, we just need to shout out your studio for the
Cast Sound Lab. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's been we're going in 10 years strong.
So this makes me so excited to even be talking to you about this stuff because like there's so many young people, young and old. Like there's people like probably in their 60s listening to this podcast. Like how do I move about like owning my own stuff? Because
that's a great question.
You know, when you're like your friends, depending on other people, and they're like, oh, I don't know, like, should you really? What advice do you have for those people that are like, I really want to start something, but how do I go about doing it? Because if people that wanted to help me said they couldn't anymore out of fear, and I fell, then I look like the laughing stock.
You are 100% correct. One thing I will say is, like I said, you got to be able to tell yourself you're going to get your hands dirty, like no matter what. So you ought to understand, like, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you. You may have partners who are interested, and I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but people are always going to tell you, yo, that sounds like a great idea. I might get in on that with you. And then you might call a couple times and be like, yo, so remember, I got that idea. I have a meeting with this person. Yo, I can't make it to that one, but, yo, let me know how it go. Nah, like.
I thought you was in.
Yeah, I thought you was in. You have got to be able to work your ass off. There's no... It's a blessing and it's a curse because your hours you got to be able to sacrifice. So you sacrifice a lot of hours. You're not going to see your family as much. You're not going to go out as much. You're going to miss out. You're going to miss out. You're going to lose money. Like that's the number one thing I would emphasize is that
be ready to lose money.
Be ready to invest in yourself. I want to call it losing money. Just
you're right.
Invest in yourself. Like, and I see this with a whole bunch of, I don't want to say our people, but just people of color. When I go out and I see certain people like spend $200 on a bottle, $400 on this, $500
on shoes, name brand.
I'm not knocking it, but then I don't want to hear you say I don't got the bread to have an LLC.
Start my own stuff.
I don't have enough bread to get my credit right. I don't have enough bread to do this. Like those are the critical things you're gonna need to really like grow.
Yeah,
your business or just start your business.
Your Balenciaga sweater took the money that you was gonna get. That shit don't pay
me back. You know, like I think like this: if before I purchase something, I think, does it pay me back in any way? Like I you have to think that way if you're thinking about business and starting it on your own. And it's very simple too. I know people they'll go to LegalZoom or they'll go to all these other websites and be like, I gotta pay this much to get a LLC. I gotta pay this much to get a copyright. When in reality, like LegalZoom is just a middleman. So another thing I would say is if you're starting a business, eliminate the middlemen. Like do it yourself.
Find out how to do it yourself.
Find out how to do it yourself. So for instance, like starting an LLC, the LegalZoom might charge you $1,200. We'll start out your LLC and it'll be guaranteed by tomorrow. And I was like, all right, let me go directly to the city of New York, a state of New York, and find out how I could do it. It's $250.
What? Huh?
So you can easily just say, I was ready to pay LegalZoom $1,200 to certify a name.
So somebody's getting almost $1,000
That's
for my laziness.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah, exactly,
God forbid.
right.
I reject it.
Absolutely. You know
May
what I'm
that
saying?
never happen to any of you guys. In Jesus' name.
You know what I'm saying? It's real. And so you got to be able to say, yo, where's the direct connect
Facts.
to get it done, as opposed to like, all right, I'll hire somebody else to do it. Like, don't anticipate hiring people until it's time, until you can really, really afford to do something.
So that's something that even is speaking to me.
Right.
Because right now I'm like, oh, we starting up with the brand. Man, let
I know
me
where you're
hire
gonna go
this.
with this, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's like, no.
It's tough.
You gotta kind of let it wait its time. Like, take the steps.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you saying,
Right.
you got to be willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
So many times you think like, oh, but I want the latest this or I want the latest that. But it's like, yeah, you can have the latest iPhone, but you're still not where you want to be.
For me, I never, like, obviously I'm a hoodie and jeans dude. Like, I'm 100. I don't care though. Like, because I own a home. I'd rather own a home than own the latest J's. Not knocking anybody who does that, but I like to be able to. For me, that's more important. And I can, like, you have to be able to put priorities.
Like what you
for the
really
long term,
want.
right.
Because I think that so much we hear, like, people talk down on themselves, like, I'm not this, and I wish I was this, and I can't do this. And it's like, you can.
Absolutely.
You have the resources. You just have to reprioritize.
Right, absolutely. Without a doubt. Listen, I know where we are as far as our country's concerned. Not a lot of people are happy with, obviously, administrations and things that are going on. But one thing I will say is this company is built to benefit business people. Like, they want you to have a business. They rather you have a business than work. There's so many more benefits to owning a business or being an LLC and being an actual company than it is to be an employee. Not saying it's
no,
it's
yeah,
not
but
wrong.
I get you.
Also, and I don't know if it's a generational thing. I'm pretty sure you've been experiencing this as far as getting a team. Because a lot of people say, yo, get a team, build a team around you that can
help you out.
Right. I don't know if it's tougher now just because a lot of kids coming up now, they want the instant gratification or they want the check immediately. And I didn't get a check. I interned for numerous companies. I didn't expect a check. So when I interned, I interned and worked my ass off as if I was getting paid millions.
Yeah.
When I knew I was just getting a stipend to get the bus home.
That kind of reminds me of Making the Band when Diddy
yeah. Nah, that was some wild shit. Like, that was like,
Diddy
that
had
was
them
bugged
boys
out.
walking to Brooklyn for cheesecake.
But I also understood what he was doing. I mean, it was a bit much, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the type of hunger that you gotta have. Like, you gotta be willing to walk miles,
absolutely,
for cheesecake for somebody you interning with. Because guess what? They got the tools to get you where you want to be.
Without a doubt. Like, Diddy in his mind was like, I have connections you guys will never understand.
Yeah.
So the least you can do
is get me some cheese.
Get me some cheesesteak and walk your ass. We look at it now like, yo, he was bugging, but like when you look at it, it's like, oh, for me to get into a studio with Diddy, and be on his label and work. I mean, like, that's the point he was proving. But
it's just the mindset of the work ethic. Like, you gotta have that hunger.
I don't know if it's the same. Yeah, I don't know if it's the same these days.
And it's hard because social media makes it harder.
Yeah,
when you look at it, because people talking about getting the bag.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you gotta get the bag. I'm in my bag. I gotta get my bag. But it's like, how long did it take you to get that bag? Like, you didn't just get this bag today.
Not even that though. Like, a lot of y'all are lying. Like, and you gotta stop believing in that stuff for real. Like,
stop believing what you see.
Yeah, like. I put it to you like this. IG, you're just seeing the highlights. You know what I'm saying? It's like ESPN watching Sports Center. You're just going to see the highlights. You're going to see the dunks. You're going to see... One thing I remember when I first started watching Michael Jordan, I was like, I asked my sister, I was like, yo, when is he dunking? Or like, he's just moving around and running around and like, when does he do the dunking? She was like, yo, there's so much more to it than just that. And that's like a good comparison. Like, you see the highlights on IG, you don't know what the come up was for that person to get to that moment or that photo. And a lot of those photos, like, a lot of them is just clout chasing, posing. Like, it's not their car. They might have just crossed the dealership and was like, yo, let's, like, don't
believe everything you see.
Don't ever believe everything you see, because a lot of them are like, they're just like me and you. They working, they got 9 to 5s too. Like, don't believe the hype. And when they tell you, like, oh, I got this bag, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, and then they're going to work the next day.
Yeah, fact. I was gonna ask you. My next question is, what advice do you have to young dudes that are like you, trying to pursue like just their passion in general?
Right.
Because it's different when you talk to the general masses than when you're talking to a young African dude.
Right.
That probably grew up with a single mom.
Course, yeah,
and
yeah.
a struggling home. You know, they was just struggling to make
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
Because they want the riches real fast. And they're willing to do whatever it takes.
Patience is everything.
You know, they in and out of trouble and stuff like that. What advice do you have for them?
One thing I would say is like I've never used the fact that, and I know it might be unpopular to some people, but I've never used the fact that my dad wasn't around as a crutch for me to act out. Like for me, it wasn't necessarily like, I didn't have a dad hug me, so I'm gonna go rob this store, or I need guidance or shit like that. Not saying that's not a real thing, but I never really used that as a crutch. 1, 2, patience is everything. So you have to be able to understand, like, yo, you're not gonna get the bag immediately. Like there's like days and years before you actually get your first legitimate bag, and then you're like, oh shit, like okay, let's keep doing it. Like and you got to be able to maintain that same work ethic. Yeah, I think one thing that does happen is you might get a little bag, and you're like, oh shit, like I proved myself right. Yeah, and you kind of take your foot off the pedal. Ooh. Where you probably should go even harder. Yeah. And 2, understand that like just knowing how to do one thing nowadays is not going to be enough. Not enough. Like 1 degree, not enough. Nah, like 1 degree is not enough. Like understand that, you know, for me, if you're doing a podcast, for instance, right? Yeah. You should be able to understand, okay, recording it, 1, obviously, sending out emails, contacting your guest, okay, cool. But then you should be able to like understand, all right, editing, basic editing. I'm not asking you to. I'm basic. Basic. Right. You know, I'm not telling you to add sound effects. Woo, like nobody gives a shit about that. Like at least know how to like get these steps on doing it. Cut and paste. For instance, when learning the studio, I needed somebody to develop my website, and I couldn't afford it. So I went on a little website called Wix when it first came out. And I was kind of playing around with it and figuring out and kind of playing around and seeing what did what. And I kind of learned how to do it myself. Wow. It wasn't the most extravagant website, but people going to still go to that website. It did its job, It did its job. As long as you know, okay, I need to see pictures and I need to know how to book. Those are the 2 most important things. It don't have to look like the craziest website I've ever seen, but as long as I can get the job done and get the clients to do their job through the website, then it's easier. So understand that knowing how to do one thing isn't enough anymore. Like you got to be able to be multifaceted. Just be hungry to learn a lot more, and be able to take it on your own. Like, oh no, you know, if you can, I want it this way, I can do it. This is what I mean, and show them exactly what you mean by like what you want. So basically, you're saying like your advice is number 1, don't let the fact that you don't have your dad around be your crutch. Right. Like, I mean, like I said, like it's a struggle, yes. Right. But don't let it be the only thing that like keeps you down because you can still rise above that. Of course. And get rid of, just get rid of negative motherfuckers, man. Like, I don't know if you could curse on this podcast, but just get rid of, negative people. Yeah. Like, those people that'll tell you, and it's not necessarily, they're not going to tell you you're going to fail. Yeah. It may just be a person like, well, what about this story? That don't make no sense. Yeah, don't let them get in your ear. Yeah, okay, then guess we're not going to talk about my aspirations with you anymore. We'll talk about the game. Let's Facts. Talk. You know what I'm saying? One thing that I respect about my sister, she's younger than me, but she has a lot of wisdom. She always tells me you have to create boundaries. Absolutely, yeah. And people need to have boundaries when dealing with you. Absolutely. Everybody can't be so free with you and so open. Right. You can't be so open with them. You got to create boundaries. So basically what you're saying is create that boundary. That dude is the guy. We'll talk about girls. We'll talk about cars, we can talk about whatever, but I know very surface. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for coming on the Unconventional platform. Please give them your name again and contact information and how to get on CSL if they're in the area. So it's Preach. You can follow me at CSL_studios. Also, look out Native 90. Native 90 is my apron brand, so it's like a hip hop apron brand. We got a huge shout out from the Breakfast Club one year, and we've ballooned into something unbelievable, and we're having a lot of fun with that, and we're kind of rebranding. So go check that out, Native 90. John's Pizza, I own a pizzeria as well, but it's the restaurant business is tough, man, and it's just fucking.
I like to eat pizza, so.
Yeah, it's just that's a different other episode. But yeah, so check me out there, and thank you. Like, this has been really dope.
No problem.
Subscribe to her channel, her podcast, all that stuff, man. Listen to her. Cut it out.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been a great episode. I hope you all have learned something. This is the Unconventional African, and we are out.
Peace.
I'm talking about the unconventional Africa.